Okay, my name is Bill Boling. I'm a healthcare attorney and practice in Atlanta, Georgia. I include telemedicine as part of my area of specialty, and I've been practicing healthcare law for 30 years. Was general counsel at the Medical College of Georgia for 5 years at their health system in the 2001 to 2005 period, where I first encountered Dr. David Hess, who was a pioneer of telemedicine. The Medical College itself has long had a storied history with telemedicine and very successful history with it. And so that's how I became interested in telemedicine, was seeing what Dr. Hess, the company now known as Reach Health, was able to do with telemedicine. I was responsible for compliance and risk management at Medical College, did med-mal defense work for the first 15 years of my career, was defending doctors and nurses. I've had a chance to see how capacity, whether or not we have adequate capacity and access to the specialists that we need for a particular situation, is always part of the challenge of delivering the care we need. One of the important early steps when you were looking into adopting the telemedicine program, after you answered the three big questions, is to get with your attorney and your compliance officials and your chief medical officer or whoever else is your interface between how your clinical services are delivered and who can do it and what your environment of care looks like, to understand what are the rules in your state that govern the practice of medicine via a telemedicine environment of care. And I would encourage you to think about it that way. You already are accustomed to thinking about, well, this is our environment of care in an outpatient surgical setting, this is our environment of care in the ICU. You're accustomed as a provider of thinking in those terms, and you should also think that telemedicine is a new kind of environment of care, and it's going to have all the same and maybe even more scrutiny that you already use in environment of care to make sure you're compliant with Joint Commission. You're compliant with in Georgia, we have the Georgia Composite Board, which governs how licensed practitioners deliver care in the state. And also you have at a Georgia state level another layer of regulation and governance over how care is delivered. And then you also have contractual relationships. If you're delivering telemedicine, is your insurers going to pay for that? Or if you have special contracts with, say, a state entity or a county entity or other large groups of patients, what is the contractual approach that they take to telemedicine? For example, in Georgia, there has to be a physical examination occurring by a licensee before you could have a telemedicine encounter. Georgia only recently, maybe a couple of years ago, for the first time passed composite rules governing telemedicine, which had the, in some ways, unfortunate effect of creating some obstacles and some burdens and some hurdles too. It's still very doable, it's still growing in how it's delivered, but it's some new hoops to jump through. Some states have taken a creative approach to allow that. Other states have, in order to protect to a degree their own practitioners, said, well, okay, for example, Alabama says, we will let you practice telemedicine as an out-of-state licensee, say, to Georgia, if you, Georgia, allow our practitioners to come into your state and do the same. So it's kind of a reciprocity requirement. We're going to find many encounters, and particularly in chronic cases, where it's more a monitoring type process where telemedicine is going to be what we turn to first. And we'll really be, can we imagine practicing medicine without a telephone now? We didn't get to our standard practices with the use of telephone. And there's no question that we need to be careful as we move ahead, but there's also no question that we are moving ahead at a very rapid clip with the adoption of this new technology. In Atlanta, Georgia, we do a lot of work with hospitals and physician practices across a lot of different issues, including telemedicine, and we love to work with startup companies in health IT and particularly in the telemedicine space. And if you have any questions or have any feedback from me or things that we could learn from, please don't hesitate to contact me at bolingandcompany.com. All of our information is there, and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.